She was a hitchhiker. In one split second, her fate changed forever. For 2,640 days, she lived in a wooden box, chained, blindfolded, tortured, raped. Her family would die if she tried to escape. This is the true story of Colleen Stan, the girl in the box. Stay with us to the end to know how this nightmare finally ended. May 19th, 1977. 20-year-old Colleen Stan hops off a Greyhound in Eugene, Oregon. She hopes to surprise a friend at a party in California. It should have been a simple ride, but hitchhiking carries risk. After refusing 2 rides, Colleen gets into the next car, a young couple with a baby in the back seat. She thought it seemed safe. They chatted as they drove, but about 20 minutes later, the car drifts off the highway into a stand of trees. Moments later, Cameron Hooker, the man behind the wheel, pulls out a knife. Janice, his wife, steps out with their baby. Cameron grabs Colleen, ties her hands, shoves a wooden headbox over her head. It weighs 20 pounds, blocked out light, sound, nearly all air. She can't scream. She can't breathe easily. She was no longer a passenger. She was prey. It was the moment when Colleen's life changed forever. They drive to their home in Red Bluff, California. In the basement, Cameron throws Colleen onto a rack where she would be forced to live for days, months, and eventually years. During this time, she was deprived of human contact, fed little, and kept in near-complete darkness. When she was allowed out, it was only for bondage training, as Hooker called it, which consisted of cruel, abusive acts meant to break her spirit and force her into submission. Colleen was subjected to constant physical torture. He stripped her naked, blindfolded her, chained her by the wrists to ceiling beams. He begins torture, whips, burning, shocking, drowning her just until she nearly loses consciousness. All this while forcing Janice to have sex in front of Colleen. She was tied, screaming, unable to stop what was happening. In the first few months alone, she went through over 90 torture sessions. Each night, she was locked in a wooden coffin under the bed of Hooker, never knowing what day it was. That was not enough. The psychological manipulation was even more damaging. Hooker told her about a fictional underground group called The Company, claiming they would punish her if she tried to escape. A secret group that would kill her family too if she escaped. Janice further enhanced her fear when she said the company was real and that the family was being watched, and she believed it. Hooker made Colleen sign a slave contract in early 1978 that he claimed would bind her soul to him forever. Under intense psychological duress, she had to sign that contract, believing the stories of the company. This moment marked her psychological subjugation to Hooker and was a key turning point in her captivity. Hooker began calling her Kay and required her to address him as master. He pierced her lips, put a collar on her neck. She was forced to adhere to strict rules, bowing, kneeling, and asking permission for every action, from eating to using the restroom. The man who had picked her up for a simple ride had now claimed ownership of her body and soul. Hooker continuously threatened her with the wrath of the company, saying they would track her down and kill her if she tried to escape. His abuse was not limited to psychological manipulation. They built a coffin-sized wooden box under the waterbed. It became her world. Cold, dark, silent. Chains rattled. Sanity slipped. She spent 23 hours every day in that box, let out only to eat, use a bedpan, or beat a horrific essay including forced oral copulation, grape, and being violated with foreign objects. He also subjected her to cruel bondage practices, including choking, suspension, and confinement for hours or days in that box. Above her in September 1978, Janice gave birth to their second child, completely unaware a prisoner lay inches below. In 1979, they moved to a mobile home, where Colleen wasn't always locked away. Sometimes Cameron gave her freedom, but only under his strict supervision. Her mental and emotional state was locked. In 1980, Cameron started letting Colleen out for chores, babysitting, even a hotel-maid job at the King's Lodge Hotel. Her entire paycheck went to the Hookers. During this time, Hooker continued his essay, forcing Colleen to participate in sexual acts with him, claiming it was part of her duties as a slave. Colleen later estimated that Hooker raped her once or twice a week. The horror continued. In March 1981, they let her visit her family. Cameron acted as her fiancé. Her family thought she had joined a cult. A photo shows her smiling softly, but horror sat behind her eyes. She couldn't scream or run. The company had trapped her mind. That was a test for her fear. During captivity, she learned a truth: you survive by retreating into your mind. You go somewhere else, somewhere safe, she later said. Their victim worked. She sorted laundry. She babysat. She fooled them all. But one truth remained. She couldn't run. Until someone else feared the worst. Janice had been under Cameron's control too, kept in line by fear, by religion, by abuse. But in 1983, Cameron planned to kidnap another woman. He started building a bigger torture area. That was Janice's breaking point. She went to their pastor and confessed, "We have a woman locked in a box." Her words cut through years of lies. That same day, she drove to the hotel where Colleen worked and said, "There is no company, it's all a lie." On August 9th, 1984, while Cameron was at work, Janice and Colleen left with the children. Colleen believed death would follow if she tried to escape, but the lie was shattered. The next morning, Colleen, missing for 2,640 days, called her father from a bus station. She was alive. She escaped the box. But could she ever escape the nightmare? Cameron Hooker didn't know Colleen had fled. He came home to find her gone. Still, she didn't call the police immediately. She was broken, terrified. What if the company was still real? It was Janice, the captor's wife, who finally called the police. Cameron Hooker was arrested on August 22, 1984, in Red Bluff, California. He didn't confess. He told officers it was all role play, that Colleen had consented. But Janice's confession and Colleen's testimony uncovered everything. In 1985, the courtroom filled with silence as Colleen took the stand. Her voice was steady. Her eyes held years of pain. She recounted every detail: the rack, the headbox, the fake contract, the lies about the company, the years of silence, terror, and control. She was on the stand for 3 days, answering every question with disturbing calm. Cameron's defense tried to twist it. They said she had a consensual sexual relationship with him, that she could have left, that she wanted to stay. But Colleen looked at the jury and said, "I didn't run because I thought people would die." In October 1985, Cameron Hooker was found guilty of kidnapping, SA, and torture. He was sentenced to 104 years in prison. He wouldn't be eligible for parole until 2023. But even that parole was later denied. As of today, Cameron Hooker remains behind bars. What happened to Janice Hooker? She made a deal with prosecutors. In exchange for her testimony, she walked free. She got full immunity. To some, it was justice. To others, it was betrayal. Colleen Stan never returned to the person she was in 1977, but she refused to be defined by what was done to her. After the trial, she legally changed her name and rebuilt her life in private. She worked helping women at abuse shelters. She gave interviews not for attention, but for awareness. In one TV appearance, she said, "You can survive anything, but it never leaves you." Her story inspired books, movies, and a generation of survivors who saw in her someone who had come through the darkest tunnel and found light. But one mystery still haunted the public. What exactly was the company? Psychologists later explained it. The company wasn't real, but the fear was. Cameron Hooker created an elaborate, imaginary organization. He faked documents, left open files on the table, played audio tapes of surveillance men. He threatened that they were listening, watching. This was not just physical torture, it was mental warfare. It was a calculated system of control. Cult leaders use it. So do traffickers. Cameron had no gang behind him, but his prisoner believed there was. And that made it real. More real than chains. This lie was his deadliest weapon. And it worked. For 7 years. The media went wild. Headlines read, "Girl in the box, California woman held for 7 years. Torture slave case shocks nation. Mind control in real life." Experts debated it. Could someone really stay silent that long? But FBI profilers and trauma experts all agreed, yes. When a victim believes resistance means death, not just theirs, but their families, they freeze. They submit. They survive. Colleen Stan wasn't weak. She was resilient. In 2009, decades after the trial, Colleen broke her silence in a new documentary. She stood outside the house where she had been held and said, "It looks so normal, but inside was hell." Today, she is married. She has children. She tries not to look back. But the shadow never fully disappears, and every year when the story reappears online or in new TV specials, she remembers the box. This story isn't just about horror, it's about survival. Thousands of people around the world live through abuse, control, and fear, some even in plain sight. Colleen's story teaches us, believe victims even when the story sounds unbelievable. Abuse isn't always visible. Mental control can be stronger than chains. Survival isn't about escape, it's about reclaiming your mind. That wooden box, the one that held Colleen for years, now sits in evidence storage. Heavy, quiet, cold. Some say it should be burned. Others say it should be displayed, as a reminder of what humans can endure and survive. But one thing is clear, Colleen Stan walked out of that box not just alive, but free. And that is a story the world must never forget. Colleen Stan was held captive for 7 years. She was 20 when taken, 27 when freed, and a survivor forever. Evil can hide in plain sight, but truth always finds a way out of the box. Follow us for more gripping true crime stories.